Today, we're going to get an update on the best case scenario for the Dems in the upcoming Senate elections. It's been a couple of months since I did this, and there's been just a little bit of movement in their direction, but there's a lot of close calls on here. It already looks like a nice night for them, but this is going to be their top of the mountain scenario, but it's going to be within reason. It's not going to get totally crazy. There's always other weird third party candidates that can make a splash, but we're going to go with what's most realistic right now. So let's do the safe states. These are expected to be a 10 or more point margin. For the Dems, easy calls. We've got Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico. Then it's Minnesota, Illinois, and on the East Coast, the open seat in New Hampshire just over 10, followed by Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, and finally Virginia. I don't think there's a lot that's controversial there. I think some people might say New Hampshire might not be that blue, but now we're going to do the safe states for the Republicans. So even in a blue wave, I don't think the Dems are going to touch Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, and finally West Virginia. Now we'll do the likely states. These are semi-competitive or between 5 and 10% margins. For the Dems, first it's Michigan. It's an open seat. Republicans haven't won a Senate election here in a long time, unless it's Abdul Al-Sayed. And I would think it's going to be Mallory McMorrow, and she would get it over 5, but not quite 10 points. Next, in the northeast corner, it's Maine. This looks more and more likely it's going to be Graham Plantner taking down Susan Collins. Now in this, I'm going to say it's high single digits, 8 or 9 points, but just under 10. Next, in North Carolina, Roy Cooper would win the open seat here over Michael Whatley by at least 5%. Then in Georgia, John Ossoff is going to hold off whoever the Republicans put up by also over 5. Now, the likely states for the GOP. First, we've got Kansas. This one could get interesting if Sharice Davids gets in. Either way, Roger Marshall should win it comfortably, but it's going to get down a little bit under 10. Next, in Mississippi, this is Cindy Hyde-Smith. I think she would win it easily, but again, it's going to dip down just under 10%. The last likely state is South Carolina. This is Lindsey Graham's seat, and in this, I think it would actually get close to leans, probably about 5.5 points. But for right now, it's going to stay likely. Now we've got the competitive states. We'll go through them one at a time. Lean or under 5%, tilt or 1% or less. First, we've got Alaska. This is the Sullivan-Peltola matchup in a top 4 primary with ranked choice voting. Dems have a drought here for president, but not for the Senate. They won it in '08. Given this environment, given its Peltola, given Sullivan's unpopularity, I do think if Dems have a nice night, she could win it. It's not going to be by a ton, but it's going to be by maybe a couple of points, so she's going to get it leans. Next, in Montana. Now that this is an open seat, Dems didn't really get time to put up a candidate that they'd like. Either way, Dems are in position to make it closer, but Republicans still going to hold it with a lean rating. Now we've got Nebraska. This would be Pete Ricketts against independent Dan Osborne and maybe another Democrat on the ballot. If you look at the Osborne polling, it looks like he has a great shot at winning this thing. In this, I think it's going to get closer, but it's still going to be lean Republican. Next, let's do Texas. This was one where I went back and forth. I think it all depends on if it's Cornyn or Paxton against Tallarico. Seemingly, Paxton is a weaker candidate in the general. So in this scenario, we'll assume it's Paxton. We'll assume Tallarico runs a solid campaign, and Dems are actually going to flip this narrowly, under 1% with a tilt rating. In Iowa, it's going to be just on the other side of the line, between Ashley Hinson and either Josh Turek or Zach Walz. But here the Republicans look like they're on a little bit more solid ground. It is an open seat. It could flip, but in this, I'm going to say Dems come up short. It's going to be tilt Republican. Then we've got Ohio. This one also extremely competitive. It's a special election between Husted and Brown. On the surface, I tend to think Republicans are going to hold on here. I know the polling looks shaky, but if everything breaks the way of Sherrod Brown, I'm going to say he is narrowly able to flip it, and they're going to get it with a tilt rating. The final state is Florida. This one also a special election and not quite as competitive, maybe down to about 4.5 points for Ashley Moody. So that's going to stay lean red. So the final map is 52 seats for the Dems, 48 for the Republicans. In this, Dems flip Alaska, Texas, Ohio, North Carolina, and Maine. That's a solid blue wave. I don't think it's going to get much better than that unless they're able to work something out in Iowa, which is close. I know this far out, it's easy to look at the special election results and see Dems overperforming. I think that's automatically going to translate into the upcoming midterms. I do think Republicans are not going to get totally wiped out like it might seem, but this is going to be a pretty good night for the Dems. So let me know in the comments, how does this map look for you as of April? Which states, which candidates stand out to you the most? Let me know what you think down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.